waiting for that, my name is Christen. I'm the Executive Director of the Coalition for Fair Employment and Construction, and this is what happens when you threaten people's livelihoods, when you explicitly and implicitly discriminate against workers who don't happen to belong to the group that financed your elections. This is the type of result that you get. This is why so few school districts in California, of which there are over 1,200 K through higher ed entities, over 600 bonds passed in the last 15 years, and exactly 32 have passed project labor agreements. Why so few? Well, we'll explain why here, as well as what you've heard from the previous speakers. What is a PLA? It's really simple. All the rhetoric that you heard in the opening presentation can all be done in whatever agreement. I can be glad that they have to run different euphemisms because we give them PLA such a bad name. Whatever they want to call them, all of it can be accomplished under any agreement that you want. But really the heart of a project labor agreement are these four provisions. Without these, the unions would have no interest in a project labor agreement because it would give them no unfair advantage. All workers must pay union dues and fees. There's $1,000 out of your first paycheck that's just gone to be contributing to an organization you have no desire to join, no desire to be a part of, but because you're working under a PLA, it's lost to you. All workers must be hired through union hiring hall, and contractors are limited to 6 core workers. It's interesting that when you hear proponents talk about all the work that non-union contractors are getting, what you really have are core workers that are limited to 6, but where are the rest of the workers coming from? They're coming from the union hiring hall. So while there may be a non-union contractor that did the job, like a Burke Electric on the San Diego courthouse, they are not self-performing any of the work that's being done by union employees, because that's the purpose of the project labor agreement. Only union apprentices can work. Again, the explicit discrimination there is without refute. Scott Barnett won't talk to you about it because he can't justify it. In the San Diego Unified School District project labor agreement, non-union apprentices cannot work. So those that are graduating from those programs do not have the right to work on projects which many of them are helping to pay for. It's outrageous. All workers must pay into union benefit packages. This is perhaps the most egregious aspect, and there are a lot of them, of the PLA. You have to pay over $20 an hour off your paycheck, goes into a union benefit package you'll never benefit from because of vesting requirements. What are the union vesting requirements as an electrician? Judging by the experience and depth of knowledge that you have in the construction industry, which is exactly none, I would anticipate you would know that answer. It's a significant amount of years, 5 to 10 years, just to get your pension plan or get your health benefits, none of which these people that are working under that are not union will ever invest in unless they stay in the union. What that means for a worker is exactly this. This is what it means for a worker, how much he'll lose annually under a project labor agreement. He'll go from $63.07 for an electrician down to $50.47. You are actually stealing with the project labor agreement over $20 an hour from that worker's paycheck that's lost to a benefit package he'll never benefit from because he has one already established with his company, as is required by law when working on a public works project. But under a PLA, they have to pay into union health welfare. Please explain to me how in your negotiations this provision is in a PLA, and it always is, because the AFL-CIO has to negate to sign off on this, and it's always a provision that's in a PLA. That's over $26,000 annually that worker will lose. That's all a PLA is about, those 4 provisions. Everything else is rhetoric. Who are these provisions aimed at? Very simple. The percentage of the industry, over 85%, that chooses to wake up on a daily basis and go to work in a union-free environment. That's their choice. That's the market. This is not the 1930s. I know that is difficult for some people to get over. It never will be again. It is just a different world out there. It's not the 1930s when you had PLAs on the Hoover Dam and 99% of the construction workforce was unionized. As frustrating as that is, it does not give license to people to go out and discriminate against workers because they choose to belong to a group who does not support them financially. But that is who a project labor agreement is directed towards. Project labor agreements are opposed by everybody in the industry, other than the unions, who again constitute about 15% of the construction workforce. The National Black Chamber of Commerce, the Bay Area Black Contractors, the Asian American Contractors Association, you name it, they're all opposed to it. You should investigate this. You may think that having a 60-minute discussion on an issue where your paradigm will shift in how you negotiate and bid projects is sufficient. I say it is wholly inadequate and embarrassing. You need to thoroughly investigate this and discuss this, something like Sonoma County did, where they had a of San Diego had a vote on project labor agreements. Over 70% voted to ban them. The city of San Diego had a vote in 2012 June on project labor agreements. 58% of the voters voted to ban them. The people have spoken on PLAs. These are your constituents. PLAs are a record of failure. I could spend hours alone just on the records of failure under a PLA, but I'm just going to focus on a couple. The Los Angeles Community College District, a 7-part front page series on the failures of that project labor agreement. Clock towers built upside down that were leaning air conditioning units put in the wrong buildings. It was such a catastrophe that the Los Angeles Times ran a 7-part series on the front page about the failures of that school district. That's what can happen under a PLA. PLAs guarantee nothing. There's failures under them, there are not PLA projects. Rancho Capano High School just recently, there was an estimate of $42 to $45 million on that project. It came in at over $58 million. This is just in the last few months. The school just opened. Research that project and how that PLA worked out for them. The staff was asked to find out why the staggering cost overruns. They listed as the #1 reason the project labor. Record of failure continues. I'll leave this with you. You have this. My time is limited. What the studies say. The most significant study ever done on PLAs were 550 projects in California looked at, peer-reviewed by the USC School of Business, found a 13 to 15% cost increase associated with project labor. It's not a surprise when you force non-union workers to obtain the plans on their best and you use fewer bidders, as you heard from a contractor here who won bigger projects with PLA. Fewer bidders, increased costs. The most comprehensive study ever done on project labor agreements by National University found a 13 to 15% cost increase. So with that, and I'll take that 90 seconds that the previous gentleman went over to finish with my comments. What you'll find, a minute and a half, what you'll find is that project labor agreements are a solution in search of a problem you don't have. And I would challenge all of you that are considering this and trying to ram this through with as little discussion as possible to actually try and answer these questions, considering the construction background that none of you have. Have you visited these non-union construction firms and their training and apprenticeship training shops to find out exactly what these men and women are being trained in? Perhaps they're not worthy of being included under project labor agreements and deserve to be discriminated against. But have you visited the AGC or the ABC or the Western Electrical Contractors Association to find out if, in fact, these are quality programs? No, you have not. Go and do that. Go and visit them. Hold off on your vote and actually educate yourself on this versus listen to people who are ideological soulmates, but who, at the end of the day, simply want to make it more difficult for union-free workers to get work using bond monies that they, as taxpayers, are paying for. These are egregious, discriminatory, wasteful agreements, which is why so few people who are in your position have ever voted to put one into place, and they deserve the proper time necessary to investigate them. Thank you for your time.